Hello and welcome to Creativity with Don Allen III Live. Today we're going to be working on building a kunai knife from the Naruto universe. We're going to be making it in VFX. And then the plan is once we have this, we're going to use it to run some simulations. So I have a really cool VFX asset to work with. So the kunai knife is this like weapon that a lot of the ninjas would use in the Naruto universe. And what's really cool about it is the design is very simple. So we're going to 3D model that today. We're going to texture it, paint it. And then once we have that, I'm going to show you how we can animate it. We're going to create some really cool simulations where the kunai knife will be like, thrown at stuff. And then I'm going to try to use some animation techniques to have some like forces act on an array of the kunai knives. So this will be for the end result to be kind of similar to what we did last week, in the VFX world. I did this, I'll just show you the example. So just earlier this week, not last week, I made these effect videos like this. And I'll go ahead and show you these. So this gave me a couple of ideas. One, metal objects work really well in Simulon. That's the tool that I'm using to shoot these VFX in real time while I'm filming. And now that I know that metal works really well as like a material in here, I want to try to use a different object, one that's more recognizable, not just random cylinders and cube metal magnets. So we're going to 3D model a kunai knife. We're going to paint it, texture it. And then once we have that, I'm going to be able to animate this through a similar dynamic system, similar to how I have set up in here, where I can use force fields to animate them. And then once we have that animation, we'll save it into Simulon. We'll bring that Simulon asset into the phone, and then we'll be able to film really cool Hollywood quality VFX with the asset anywhere that our phone is. And that's the plan. So welcome to the stream. Let's get started. So the first things first is to look at the shape and design of the kunai knife. So there it is. That's one option. So it's kind of got like a trapezoid shape on the bottom and then a pyramid shape up top. We got a cylinder and a torus. Very simple piece of geometry. So let's go ahead and get right to it. I'm going to make a new document. We're inside the program Cinema 4D, by the way. It's one of our go-tos when we are in that space. We got a question coming here. Don't know what that is. All right, cool. All right, so in Cinema 4D, we're just going to do a very basic model, and I'll show you that process. I'm just going to go ahead and narrow my field here so you can see my Cinema 4D screen a little bit better. I'll go ahead and collapse whatever this is. There we go. And maybe make a little bit less space over there. Great. Please, looking page YouTube. You could shoot these kunai knives to a person, showing the less dangerous part of VFX. Yeah, I think you can. So I hope that would be my hope with it, is to make a less dangerous version. So yeah, let's get it started. So I would say the kunai knife is going to start off with a trapezoid base. So I'm just going to start off and rotate this about 45 degrees. Now we're going to take the top object and the bottom one and just kind of shrink it down a little bit. Great. Then we're going to take this shape and extrude it upwards. Awesome. And then we'll take this down to a point, and then we'll send this up a lot higher. So already we have much of the kunai shape and form. We also should bring in a human reference for scale. So right now, if that's the size of an average human, this would be a gigantic structure. We don't want that. I want this to be, accurate to its scale and size. So I think relative to a person, let's see, maybe if that's a person, let's see, does that look like the right size? Maybe even smaller, to be honest. Yeah, maybe even a little bit smaller. Let's keep working on it. I'm also going to make the point a little bit sharper because it's kind of dull here. So we can sharpen it by bringing it down to 0.1 degrees, sending that up. And I'm also thinking of flattening it on one of those sides. So let's hit T, world transform, and then just do a little flatten on one side here. Great. Now for the bottom part, let's go ahead and taper that down so that it's about a square again. We'll extrude this downwards. Okay. And we got another question coming in. So for those of you just joining, what I'm going to be doing is making a bunch of kunai knives, and then we're going to set them up into an aim array so that they can like all focus in on a single object at a time. And then I'm going to animate the position of them, add some physics, add some dynamics to them, and I think it'll create a really cool animation out of these, weapons. And then with that, we'll have this working as like a really cool VFX shot. Yeah, just you wait and see. It should be pretty cool. All right, so for the bottom part, we're just going to use a torus shape instead of actually modeling it all manually. We're just going to go to a torus. Then I'm going to set the orientation to -x or whatever, -z or y or something in there. There it is, +x, +z. I'm going to place this right there and then go to the, what is this? I don't know what this menu here. Oh, let me turn off that. There we go. All right, so with this shape in there, there we go. And we're going to drop the outer ring and the inner ring. There we go. 5 centimeters, that's still too large. So I'll just do 1 centimeter here by 2 centimeters there. It's okay. Let's see, let's go right there. Maybe a thinner pipe radius, so let's do 1 by 1. Or 1 by 0.5 maybe. Maybe I'll make this a little bit lower. And then we'll go to the figure here and lengthen that down there. I think the pipe radius should be a little bit, maybe a little bit thicker here for the kunai knife. All right, so let's go, oh, too large there. I think if you hold, in Cinema 4D, if you hold, I think if you hold shift, nope, not shift. If you hold control, nope, not control. If you hold option, here we go. If you hold option, it lets you do micro movements on a slider, so you can get those more precise controls. That looks too thick. What also might help me with the scale of everything is to place this figurine closer to the hand. Or, I think there might be a hand in here. Let me see. Is there a hand? Looking for models of a hand. There we go. I'm just going to bring in this reference person here. It might take a second for them to load. Where did the person go? Let me try it again. Oh, you have to double click it to download it. There we go. Oh, weird. It doesn't load. All right, let me try this other one then. I don't know why it's not loading up my character. Okay, I'll just eyeball it. I guess it is a pretty big blade on there, so we'll leave it. But it does look like it's a little bit taller than I originally anticipated. All right, I'll make the handle round in a second. I just wanted to first get these shapes in here. We're going to do UL to bring up the shortcuts for loop cuts. And we'll add a loop cut there. Great. Now let's take all of that and run it through a subdivision surface. Okay, so it's going to look too smooth to start, and then we just have to add more subdivisions near the edges. Okay, we're just kind of adding more edges. The reason why I'm adding more edges here is so that when we get to the later phases, I want to have the ability to have lots of really cool fall off of the light on the edges. Okay, that looks pretty detailed. All right. So now I'm going to hit C on this, so this converts it to an object with a lot of polygons. And now I need to smooth out the handle here. So I had another theory on how to do this part. So since the handle doesn't really need to be seen, what I was thinking of doing is just having it become like the paper bits. So I'm going to separate them like that temporarily. Then we'll double click within the object. I think we just double click in there. There we go. And now we're going to create the handle. So one way we can do this is to bring in a square object. I'll make this about 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters for start. Then we can add what's called a helix, and we'll need to orient that helix along the XZ axis and reduce that helix radius down to something really narrow, something like maybe even like 0.3 by another end radius of 0.3 centimeters. Great, and then we'll go to the height and squash it down, and then we can bring this up. Okay, so what we're doing with this helix is I'm going to use this to wrap geometry around the bottom of the handle. Added into Real Dreams with intro, just how everyone's saying, oh, everyone's saying hey. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for adding me, Justin. I'm not the biggest WhatsApp user, but I would love to be a part of the group. So let me see what we got. Whoa, too many messages. Okay, there you are. Amazing. Oh, wow, lots of conversation. I'll have to catch up on this after the stream today. Thank you for adding me, Justin. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to then crank up the height. Oh, that's the height bias. And then we have the end radius. Okay. Now what we're going to do is use a sweep object. So there's an object in here called sweep. If you select it, lets you sweep one object around another object. So with that sweep set up, we can now control everything with that helix. So if we set this to maybe 0.3, okay, maybe that's the wrong dimension. What if we do 0.2 here? And then we set this one to like 1. All right, so it kind of creates like this wrapping effect. Now we can go to our helix and increase that start and end angle. Okay, and then we have a height bias. What's the subdivision plane? Oh, there we go. Let's display the line. Oh, wow, there's a lot of subdivisions in there. All right. And then, I don't know what that is. Uniform, let's do natural intersections. Looks like it's too thin. Maybe I won't use a rectangle, but maybe we'll just use an n-gon. An n-gon is cool because you can control the number of sides it has. Great, and now we can take that helix and, you know, increase or decrease that number. And then for the subdivisions, I'm going to go something like that. And what this will create is the handle for the geometry. And if we want to add a little bit more dynamicness to it, we can play with that height bias so that it has a little bit, so it's just a bit more uneven. And I just reduced the subdivisions a little bit there. Let me increase the height a hair. Maybe reduce that height bias. There we go. So that just kind of looks like a random assortment. I might go to the n-gons and maybe increase the number of n-gons. This will smooth out the fabric in that area. See, if we reduce the number of sides, it looks really choppy. But if we increase the number of sides, it looks a lot smoother in that area. Cool. That looks pretty sweet to me. Yeah, that looks pretty sweet. All right, now we're going to take all of that geometry and all that setup, and we're going to merge it all down into like a, we'll kind of like bake it down. So I'm going to hit C to bake that all down into geometry. And it gives us this nice like paper-like, you know, effect. Not paper-like, more like a rope-like effect. And now we can go in with, just have to find a way, how does it connect better? Because right now it feels a little strange. There's like this metal part and then it just kind of changes really quickly. So we're going to go to that bottom shape here and grab all of that, scale it down. I think that looks good. So what if we go to here, we scale that down and just kind of pull that into the geometry there. That feels okay. I'm going to turn off my lines, so this is what we have now. That feels like a pretty good kunai. All right. Now that we have the object modeled, it's time to prepare this for the other phases of the process. Let's take a look at how many polygons these three objects are together. So especially if I take the torus, if I take all of these objects, we're looking at around 7,300 polygons, and I would say that's not so bad, but I could say we should optimize it a bit more than that. So what I'm going to do is see if we can, oh yeah, so it looks like there's like 5,000 polygons in here, and we don't need that many for this, especially because a lot of those faces are going to be hidden. You see all that stuff that's intersected? We never see those faces yet. We're rendering those polygons. So those eat up memory that we don't need to waste. What I like to do with these kind of things is I use a type of operation called a volume builder. This will fuse all that geometry together to become one piece of geometry. So I'm going to go to the fuse here, volume builder. Cool, we got volume builder enabled, and then we're going to drag the sweep into the volume builder. Then we're going to reduce the size of these voxels, and maybe go even lesser than that. Let's do maybe 0.2, maybe even less than that. Let's do 0.1. Awesome. Now we're going to take that volume builder and force that back into a mesh. And what this does is it looks bumpy and weird, but it fuses all of that geometry together. And we can play with the slider here to control how much of that geometry we're going to see overlapping. We can also play with the adaptive control to reduce the number of polygons even further, which is really helpful when you want to keep assets nice and lightweight. But I want to see a little bit more of the rope, so I'm going to go back to that volume builder, go from 0.1 to 0.07. There we go. So that kind of creates a little bit more of that rope-like appearance that I like so much. And it also reduced the number of polygons significantly, so that will look like a good amount. Go back to that volume builder, volume mesher, and let's play with the volume mesh. That looks pretty good, right around there. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Now I'm going to hit C, and that forces all that back in, and what was originally 5,000 polygons, oh wow, it's actually more polygons. It's now 7,000 polygons. So let's reduce this even further. But what's nice now is it's all one shell. You see, like, it's all one piece of geometry now, instead of it being, like, there's no intersections. So now what I want to do is go back over this with another tool called the remesh algorithm. And the remesh algorithm will smooth this back out into, like, much fewer polygons, and we can control the volume and the meshing very easily. So we can play with that mesh density, or you can say it, you can put a specific number that you want. So that's 2,000. Let's say we want this to be 1,000. Let's just say we want this to be 1,000 polygons. Look at that. Just like that, it remeshes all of that, and what was originally going to be close to 7,000 or 5,000 polygons is now just a few, which is very helpful. Very, very helpful. Okay, last thing I want to do here is maybe squash it all down. So I'm going to go to the remesh algorithm here, and we're just going to bake that down. I like the way that geometry came out. And with this, we're just going to squash it down a little bit. There we go. And then I'm also going to enlarge it a little bit. The reason why is I feel like it just needed a little bit more folding to happen. So if I squash it down like this and move that up, I can then take another copy of this, paste it, and then move this down. Where'd it go? I lost the geometry. Oh, let me see. Wait, where did it go? Okay, we got this one and we got this one. So I'm going to make a copy of this and then move these down. And then on this copy, I'm going to rotate it ever so slightly, just so it creates more variation inside of that. And I know that stuff is overlapping, so we could always combine that again with that same trick, or we could, we could really squash it together at the very bottom so it feels like it's bunching up at different areas. And the fact that we rotated it a little bit kind of helps it look a little interesting. I don't know. Finally, we can go back to the sculpting tool. It moves the window. Let me slide that back over here. We can go to the sculpting tool. We can grab any of the sculpting brushes, like the clay amplify tool, or the inflate tool, or the wax tool. I'm just going to use the grab. And then if we enlarge the brush size here, we can just kind of like, I can hold the smooth brush and I can kind of fold this into an interesting shape, kind of make it feel like it's better molding to the surrounding environment. And I can go in here and just kind of smooth out some areas that might look a little too choppy. And let's go ahead and enlarge this. There you go. And enlarge that to about 100. Cool. So it just kind of adds a little bit more intrigue. We'll do the same to the top mesh. So I'm just going to bunch it up a little bit near the top. And then, yeah, I think this should be fine. Or we could just take this bunched up section and just copy that up. So I'm going to duplicate that up and raise this up to the top here. And then maybe enlarge it a little bit. give it a little rotation. Then we'll go to this middle section now. We'll squash it down. Move that up and down there. Great. Let's raise, or I guess lower that down. Awesome. And we'll go back to the grab tool, and we're just kind of doing a little gentle sculpting on that geometry just to give it a little bit more life. Since there's not going to be too many complicated objects in the scene, I'd rather spend more time making one asset look as good as it possibly can be, because we know that we're not going to need a lot of geometry for the whole scene. So, you know, there's a time and a place to add detail like this, and I would say since there's going to not be too many objects to work with, it doesn't hurt to have an extra amount of detail here. Cool. All right, that looks pretty good. Yeah, let's take a look. All right, so that looks like a really good, like, doesn't that kind of look like rope, you know, wrapping around the base of the kunai knife? And then we have the kunai, and then we have the little ring thing on the bottom. Cool. All right, last tweak I'm gonna make is just to make it feel like it's wrapping around a bit. So let's go back to the grab tool. I'm gonna reduce the size of that brush and just kind of pull on the geometry ever so slightly so that it just feels like it's more nestled into this shape. So just kind of just pulling this around the rope and pushing the geometry around just to give it that illusion of you know, wrapping or sitting on top of the piece of metal here. Cool. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. Okay, sweet. Next thing I wanted to do was see if we needed to optimize the geometry up here. So that is going to be part of this original object. This has around 1,000 polygons, not too bad. I think we can probably get away with fewer. So I'm going to grab that remesh algorithm from earlier and throw the blade part into it. Okay, so that's the reduced version. That's 100 times less polygons. Almost 100% less polygons, but I think it kind of rounds things off too much. So let me do, let's maybe play with the adaptiveness, or we can hit a target polygon count. Let's say we want this to be exactly, maybe we want it to be 500 polygons. Let me see what that looks like. Oh no, I don't like that at all. All right, we're not going to remesh it. It'll round it off too much. I just want to keep it hard edges. I think everything else looks pretty good. Only thing that looks a little weird to me is like the base here was kind of just, I don't know if I should have done that shape here. Let me set this to solo visibility for a second. I'm going to grab a loop here and here, and then we're going to enlarge it in both directions. Okay, let me see what that looks like now. Let's undo that. How about this? We'll grab the loop here, and I'll just kind of shrink it down ever so slightly. Cool. We'll do the same thing here. Maybe shrink it down this way. That looks better. Okay. It's more gradual. Cool. All right, I would say the 3D modeling part is finished of the kunai, and now we need to move on to texturing this and painting this and making it look really cool. So I'm going to grab all of the objects, Let's see how many polygons this is. All right, 5,000. Yeah, it's under 5,000 polygons. That's not too bad. So let's go ahead and do connect objects and delete. And I'm going to get rid of my figurine now. And we can proceed to the next part of this process. So I'm going to go and place this essentially at the center of the world here, but also resting on the surface. This ground, this is going to be the equivalent of the ground on the bottom. If you think of that red arrow as laying flat on the ground and that blue arrow also laying flat on the ground, that is our object now in that environment. Let's take a look without that on. Okay, so let's go ahead and start painting this. First thing we need to do when we're going to move into the painting process is we need to set up our UV maps. UV maps are like islands. The best example I can think of is when you is if you think of like wrapping a piece of chocolate with foil. The foil would be the UV map and the chocolate would be your 3D model. So if we pretend that this object here is a piece of chocolate, we need to create the foil that's going to wrap around it. So I'm going to grab the cube and first off delete the original object, and then we'll go in here and let's do a quick save. I'm going to call this Simulon, and I'll make a new folder called this kunai create, and then rename this file to kunai save. All right. So we got this kunai knife, and we need to basically paint it now. And then once we're done painting it, we'll bring it back in, we'll animate it. So let's go ahead and go File, and we'll switch to the UV editor. I'm going to click the object, click Set UV from Projection, and then we're going to try the automatic unpack. All right, the automatic unpack algorithm looks pretty good to me, to be honest. Only thing that didn't look too good is the way that it wrapped the bottom there, but I think that's not too bad. Let me see if we can try packing them better. There we go. That feels a little bit better. Yeah, maybe I won't overlap identical islands or mirrored islands. All right, let's see. So that's all of that section. All right, so let me take a look. So we have our object. What's this? So this is going to be all of that, and then all of these are those things. I think that's actually pretty good. What I'm doing is I'm putting all of the texture maps onto one square so that it'll just be easier for me to paint. And everything is all on one object. So one object, one UV tile. Easy. All right, so with the UV done, I'm going to rename this to kunai. And now we're going to save this and start painting it in Substance Painter. So I'm going to go to File. We're going to choose Export, and I will export this as a .obj file format. Here's the settings that I usually have for this process. We'll just go ahead and hit OK on it, save it, let it be. I'm going to save this into the kunai object. Now we're going to open up our painting software called Adobe Substance 3D Painter. It is this one right here, Adobe Substance 3D Painter. We'll go ahead and open that up. We'll wait for it to load, and oh, it's done loading. That's cool. I think they've sped up the launch time. That's great. We're going to go to File, New, and I'm going to choose 1024, and we'll leave everything else. And I'm just going to find that kunai knife object file. There it is. And we'll hit OK, open. Sweet. So now we're in our texturing software and we can start painting this. My first step is to go to the mode and turn on Bake Mesh Maps. And I'm just going to click Bake Selected Textures. And this just bakes a lot of data onto every layer that we can later use to paint it. So the first thing I want to paint is that metal. So I'm going to go to my metallic shaders and just throw on some metal. Already that looks pretty good, but I want to make it better. Let's try metal foil. Nah, let's try maybe some stainless steel. It's a little too flickery. I also might up the quality of the textures. So right now it's at 1024, but let's say we want to boost the quality to 2048 to give it, you know, double double the resolution. So let's set this to 2048. There we go. Okay, that already looks pretty good for the metal. I'm gonna try something else. Let's see. Go to Smart Materials. Let me throw on some iron forged. That's looking better because I like the I like how there's like a bit of unevenness to it. The light kind of scatters on it better, and I like these scratches. It just feels like more real to me. We'll fix the part here. This needs to look more like rope, not like metal, but that's looking good. And then I like the way that this came out. Yeah, iron forged is looking really good to me. I also want to take a look at the background environment. I sometimes like to do that. So let's go ahead and turn up the environment, and I'll reduce the blur of the environment just so we have like a placeholder of what we're painting. Great, let's go ahead and add some fabric now. This is called the burlap fabric, but I don't want it to be applied to the metal parts. I only want it to be applied to the handle here. So how do we do that? Well, we can go to our object, right click and add a black mask. And if we switch to object mode, we can now just double click the object itself and it will fill it all with that fabric. And so just like that, we now have a nice fabric handle that looks pretty good. I would say it looks pretty good. Yeah, and there's some nice shadows in there. And we have a kunai knife. I would say that looks fantastic. We could say we're done, but I want to add a few more details for fun, and maybe like a little Easter egg for some people. So let me try different burlap fabric. And I don't like that one. How about fabric cascade? No. How about fabric linens? I'm also going to go to the forged pattern. It has a base color. I forgot, what was the handle color? Okay, so they had gray. What other, I just need to see a few more images of the kunai knives in the Naruto universe. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like metal. Oh, it's like a white handle there. Okay, just metal there. Looks like it's just a white handle. Okay, nothing too crazy here. Let's see what this is. Okay, white handle. Oh, white handle. Okay. Yeah, I think we're pretty good. Maybe I'll make the kunai a little bit shinier in parts, but I think this is pretty close to what it needs to look like. All right, next thing I'm going to do is add some gold, but not for the reasons that you're thinking. I'm just going to use this because I like the shininess of the gold, but I don't like the color. So I'm going to remove the color. So we're keeping a shine layer on here. And what it's doing is it's only applying that shininess to some of the edges. So I'm going to add a black mask on top of this. And then on this mask, we're going to switch to a brush that has a lot of texture on it. So I'm going to choose like a, maybe just like a grungy, maybe like a sponge or something. Let's see, we have a sponge. Now you can just kind of paint in the areas that we want to add a little bit more shine onto the model. So I'm just using a sponge to kind of add that texture onto it. Great. Let's try some other brush types. There we go. Cool. I also want to add more shadows into the burlap fabric part. So let's do that. I'm going to add a fill to the whole scene. Then we're going to add a, we'll change that fill to a darker color. Let's say, just for now, I'm just going to make it red. Then we're going to add a black mask. Then under the mask, we're going to go to the generator. And under generator, we're going to add an ambient occlusion. This will allow us to fill areas differently based off their curvature. Now I'm going to invert this, so now the red should be filling the inside crevices. And now instead of using red, we're going to use black or a gray. And this will create a lot of nice shadows that are right inside the fabric. Now I think using black was probably too extreme, so maybe I'll just do like a darker gray. And I also don't want to add other parameters to this. I just want this to be mostly color information, but not like roughness information. So I want this to still have the same roughness. There's no metallic in there. Height? I guess we can add a little bit of height in there. No, height kind of breaks it. So let's turn off the height channel. Let's turn off height channel, normal, roughness, metallic, emissive, and opacity. There you go. So now it's just color information. And this is what it looks like before and after. Before, after. All that kind of makes everything look a lot more real. It's called ambient occlusion. We got a question from Mardari. Says, I think the handle is too thin. Oh, shoot. Let me see. The handle is too thin. I kind of like it like that. You mean too short? Sorry, there's a fly in here. Okay. Too thin. I think it'd be easy to throw this way, though. You know, if you think of that shape. Shadows look good. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so we'll keep the shadows. Great. And now I'm going to add my name onto here. Just somewhere on here. I think it'll be kind of fun, like a little Easter egg. So I'll make a new channel. For now, I'll paint with red, but I always change it afterwards. Then we're going to add a black mask. And now we can just carve into here my name. So I'm going to switch to a charcoal brush, might be good. And make the brush really small. And then I'll just kind of write my name onto here somewhere. Okay, red's too extreme, so I'm just going to remove the color red, but you can use other parameters. So in that area, it could be just like paint, or what I was planning on doing with it is just using it to make it more metallic in that area, and add height to push that in, almost like it's an engraving or a carving. There you go. So now it's kind of like a carved in part of the thing. That's probably too noticeable, so I'm going to reduce its metallic strength a bit. I like to hide Easter eggs on the stuff that I make, so that is what I'm doing. That is what I'm doing. All right, let me pull up our Google. Bro, how do you stream your PC? Yeah, so there's a new feature on Instagram where if you log into Instagram from a desktop browser in the US, they have a feature now where you can point your camera. You can make your camera not be your phone. You can make your camera be an OBS or Streamlabs camera. And so I pointed it to the Streamlabs tool. I currently use Streamlabs desktop to stream, and so that's a free app, by the way. So you can get Streamlabs desktop, and then you can tell Instagram that you want that to be your camera output. And when you do that, it will give you the ability to stream whatever's on your PC directly to Instagram. I think this only works in the US though for now, but I can't confirm that. You'll have to try it out and then let me know if that works for you. All right, so let's go back to that roughness. If we make it really shiny, now it's like metal. That looks kind of cool. Maybe a little bit more rough. Cool. So just have like my name on there. I think I might want it to be even more faded. Okay, just by increasing its metallicness allows it to kind of blend in with the rest of the metal. And then we have our roughness, which is how shiny or matte finished it's going to be. Cool. So I'll just have that on there. Great. Okay, I would say we're done with the texturing. Maybe the only thing I don't like is the black in the crevices is too dark. I'm going to change that color from black to, let's just pull like a dark brown color in here. So yeah, I'm just gonna go in 2D zoom, look for a nice dark brown. There we go. That feels a little bit better to me. Yep. All right. And then sometimes the kunai are painted black in the show. So I wanted to explore possibly painting it with a color and then having the paint get peeled back a little bit. We don't need paint on it. I think it looks fine. Okay, so we got our kunai. I carved my name into it somewhere, and then I think we're looking good. So let's go ahead and proceed to animate this, to make it do more stuff. So I'm gonna go and do File, Export, Mesh. Wait, Textures, Export Textures, and I'll leave it on the default for now. 2048, looking good. Yep. We also can change our output settings. So if I set this to USDZ, actually we do GLTF PBR metal roughness. Let me see what that one looks like. That's great. So this one combines all the materials, making the file size much smaller. There's no emissive track, so I'll get rid of emissive. So then we'll just have 3 textures. That's like a really, really nicely optimized file. Cool. So we'll click on Export. Oops, I forgot to change where it was going to export to. So let me open that directory. It says these are the 3. So this is the textures that we just made. That's the normal map. That is the roughness and metallic and occlusion map. And then this is the base color. And so with these 3 materials, we can describe the surface of that 3D object, which is really cool. I'm going to move those objects. I'm going to move them into a better spot though. So in Simulon under kunai, we'll make a new folder called materials, or I'll just call it mats for short. And then we're going to bring those materials in there. Cool. Great. So I would say our materials are done. Yeah, our materials are done. And I'm just going to export one more version for fun. We're going to go to change the output type to USDZ for Apple. This is the file format that Apple likes to use, and I love to use it as well. So let's go ahead and save that format. Again, we don't need an emissive track because we don't have any emissive, so we can save some memory there. We're leaving these all as JPEGs, which is great. And this time I'll change the destination to actually be the correct spot so that we don't have to move it afterwards. So it's under Simulon, kunai, mats, and then I'll make a new folder, call this the USDZ, and that's where the USDZ asset will live. And we hit export. Great, it's done. So if we did all this correctly, we now have a photorealistic kunai knife that will run on any iOS device. And we 3D modeled that whole thing from scratch, and we textured it, and we did our UV maps, and yeah, look at that. We have our nice kunai. Love it. So now that we have this nice photorealistic asset, what we want to do next is move to the animation process. So I'm just kind of toggling around with my mouse and spinning, which I love. But I need to use the restroom real quick, and I'll be right back. In part 2, what we're going to do is move to animation. So hang tight. I'll be right back. right, we are back. So we have a kunai knife. We just finished modeling it, painting it from scratch, and now we want to move on to the animation process. So yeah, let's do that. Take a sip of some coffee, and we'll jump into the next phase. Okay. So I like to get all that texturing and modeling stuff out of the way first, and then lastly, I'm going to save my Substance file to the folder so that you can use it too. So I'm just going to save this under materials, and we're going to call this kunai, and I'll hit save. All right. So with all of that said and done, we're going to now open up, we're going to go back into Cinema 4D, and we're going to switch from a modeling context, animation, modeling, texturing, UVs. We're going to switch into animation. So what I want to do and what I want to talk to you about is how we, transition this asset into an animation workflow. So we have it saved as a kunai. Next, we want to do is use a trick that I call aim, which will help us animate one object and create lots of, I think this will look really cool. So I'm going to create a null object by clicking that null button, and I'm going to move this null object up here and to the left. So it's just this kind of a null object, like a placeholder. Also, I want to get rid of this the letterboxing here because I don't really need letterboxing. So let me go to filter. Where is the letterbox? Animation path. No. Work plane, work grid, horizon, camera, environment. Maybe camera? No. Axis. I always forget which one it is. Let me say camera. No, it's not camera. Okay, panel, filter, presets. I don't know what it's called. Okay, we'll just leave it. So we have this null object. And what I want to do is take this kunai and have it aiming at that object always. But what I might do first is maybe import that GLTF file, because then it'll have all the textures and stuff already applied. So maybe I'll do that first. So let's go to, let's just make a new document in Cinema 4D. It's blank. And then in this document, we're going to drag that kunai that we just finished making, this one here. We're going to bring that into the scene. So I'm going to go to the object itself. Looking for that asset in my documents. Simulon, kunai knife, and mats. Is it in the mat material? There it is. Let's drag this in. Hit OK. All right, so I imported it in, but I don't see it anywhere. What's going on? Sometimes objects come in at the wrong scale. Okay, it looks like this one came in at the wrong scale. I don't see it anywhere in our scene. So maybe we'll keep working off of this one then instead. And it's a temporary solution, but what I do is create a temporary object to paste the materials into it. So I might need to go full screen for a second here. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to grab the objects. I added a material, and this is the node editor for the materials. Now I don't want to use Redshift, but I guess it's not giving me too many options. What we need to do is plug in all those objects from earlier. We just got to plug them in here. I always kind of screw up this part, so bear with me. So I'm importing these images. There's 3 of them. And these are what we finished painting. So we have we have this one that's going to be for our occlusion and our roughness and our metallics. I'm going to plug this into roughness. I'm going to plug this into metalness. I'll plug this one into the, I think we need to plug it into a normal map. I forgot how to do that. Maybe it's add input. I know this has to go into the bump map eventually, and then this one would be our base color, and plug that into base. But I think I screwed up something somewhere. I hope you post this for the followers to watch it later. I usually do, but usually it's available for our subscribers. It's on the subscription, so I usually have my live streams free and available for everybody. But yeah, I keep these behind the Instagram subscription feature. It's $4.99 per month, and it's how you can access my past live streams. Oh, good night, everybody. Okay, so we have this all plugged in, I think. I don't know why I'm not seeing it, though. Let me go ahead and apply this onto the... Okay, there we go. It is applied. Great. Sweet. And then the other thing I change in here is... or where is it? Under Load Textures. Load Textures. Projection Type. I go to Viewport and set these to full quality. There we go. All right, so now we're seeing the full quality asset in all its glory in there, and now we can start going to animation. So I'm going to grab the kunai and use an aim tag. So it's under tags. It's a type of animation tag called aim. Oh, I lied. It's not called aim anymore. It's called it's called target. So that's the one that we need. So I'm going to create a new temporary object, a null. Go to tags, go to animation tags, and set this to the target. Then under the target tag, we're going to set the target type to object. Oh, I flipped it around. I meant to do the opposite. Let's undo this. I meant to make the kunai the target, and then we'll take this thing and then set that. I forgot everything. How do I... set this to the up vector. There we go. Okay, so now, wherever this null object is in 3D space, you see how this object is going to try to point at it? Now, I am running into a little bit of an error here, so I need to figure out what's going on, because it's not exactly pointing at the object. It's pointing... Its vector is definitely relative to it, but it's not directly at it. So let me undo this a couple of times. And what I might need to do instead is adjust its vector a lot. So I'm going to grab the kunai and I'm going to lay it flat on the ground, on the Z or whatever axis that is. I'm just going to lay it flat. I'm also going to set its point to there. So in theory, it should point, or maybe I should move it down even further. I want it to point towards that blue, you see that blue square here? Or that blue arrow? I want this to point that way so that this is going up on the Z-axis. This is going to the right along the X-axis, and this is going up along the Y-axis. So with all that kind of set up here, we're now going to try that up vector technique one more time. I'm also going to maybe place a null object right at its point and then parent it. That way, this object here controls the direction that the kunai goes in. So if I were to rotate that null object, it will rotate along that point, which I think is really important for this effect to work. So with that set up, we're now going to grab a random cube shape, and I'm going to place this cube over here. Yeah, just kind of push it over here. There we go. All right. I want to make it so that this object points at it. So I'm going to go to the null object, go to the object tags, and set the animation tag to target. And if you're not seeing it, I'll kind of bring the screen over here. Sometimes it's hard for me to split screen this like this. So this is called a target tag right here. And when you click on it, it gives you some options. You can tell it what do you want the target object to be. In this case, I want to test it out with the cube. So I'm going to grab that cube and drag it as the target object. And look at that. Now, a very magical thing has just occurred. Now, the kunai is going to always point towards this cube, which means we could just animate the cube up or down, left and right, and our object will always point at it. This is great for the effect that I'm trying to go for. Right? So this is huge. Great. But what's even cooler is this works with a clone. So if we were to go and clone all of these objects and make a gigantic array, it should apply to all the clones within the matrix. So I'm going to go to the null. I'm going to go to the MoGraph tool called clone. And we're going to attach this clone object in there. Now in the clone, we're going to play around with the grid size. So I'm going to reduce the grid size quite a bit here. Okay, so we just made like, you know, a bunch of different kunai knives in a 3x3x3 grid. I'm creating a little bit of space between them. Okay. And now I would like them to all point as well to the target. So let's see what happens now. So if I move this, all right, looks like none of the clones are following the target object. So I got to make some more adjustments. Maybe I'll put the target on the clone. There we go. Okay, so now all the clones, oh, interesting. I didn't want them to all do it like a group like this. I wanted them to all follow it from their own local rotation. We're getting close though. We're getting really close. So let me undo this a couple times. We got the kunai. We have the right vector. Let me do separate surfaces. Does that do anything? Nope. Okay, so it moves with them. It's interesting, right? Because I'm trying to make it so that I want them to all follow the object, but not from... Okay, so maybe the cloning is not the right way to go about this. I was thinking we were going to do clones. What if we do, instead of instance, what if we do multi-instance? Does that do anything? Let's try that. Nope, multi-instance does not work. Viewport object, points, object, fixed texture, reset coordinates, iterate clones, random, iterate. Oh, I can make the target individually. Or if I set this to here. All right, I thought the cloning would work, but it probably looks like it's not going to work. So I'm going to try this a different way. What I'm going to try instead of using a clone, I'm just going to manually duplicate the objects. So if I were to, you know, copy paste this and move this up, oh yeah, there we go. Now these two objects are obeying that shape. And if I were to copy this, put it over here, great, that one's doing that. If I copy and paste this one over here, okay, this is great. So now if we did this correctly, we should be able to move this object, and all the clones, all the kunai knives should follow the position. Yeah, look at that. That's perfect. This is what I was trying to go for, the effect-wise. This is what I was going for. So now we could essentially animate the position of this cube, and that position will affect which direction the blades are pointing. Cool. Very cool. And so then that also means if we were to grab all of the null objects, we should be able to animate them and they'll always point. There we go. So yeah, that's great. We can animate these in any dimension and they should always point. All right. Well, I was trying to put them into a grid first. Let me think about this. The scene I want to try to recreate, but with kunai knives, is that scene from The Matrix where he stops the bullets. So let me look at that scene. Matrix, bullets, stop. I just gotta see this scene real quick. So he puts his hands up, I mean, they really just look like they appear. That's the effect I'm trying to create, but in augmented reality. So I want them to zoom. Oh, and then we just have to do a physics sim. Okay, so seeing this, the bullets come into the frame. I see. So the bullets come in. And it looks like they have slow easing. So maybe I could just do this with a field effector instead. That actually might be a lot easier than the aim focus. Yeah, I might just do that instead. Okay. Cool. I just wanted to make sure I understood how this animation works. So in order for us to do this with kunai knives, again, pretend the block is a person. Actually, what am I talking about? We could just make a person be the person. So let's go put in a figure, and then I'll replace the figure with the cube. So let's go to the targets of all 4 of these target, and then replace them with the figure. There we go. So now they should always point at the figure, right? Oh, weird. It's pointing to the figure's feet. Oh, 'cause that's where the null, that's where the start of the object is. It's at the character's feet. I would rather have it be like maybe at their head. So let's go ahead and manually move the anchor point of that object. Just going to move the anchor point. I forgot how to move anchor points. Where's filter selection? How do I move an anchor point for a static object? I thought it was this one right here. Enable axis modification. It's not letting me move the axis. Whatever. Okay. We got a new idea. Now they're all pointed at the figure again. I could just put this right inside of the character's head, like up in there. And then if we just make it really small, you won't see the object, but it will be pointing to that object. Great. And then we'll just parent the cube to the figurine. Now, if I move the figurine, it will create the illusion that the kunai are always pointing at the head of the character. So I'm going to also raise all the kunai off the ground. There we go. So now, no matter where we move, the kunai blades will always face the subject, which is great. Yeah, this is great. Oh, hello, Rome. Good to see you. This is What's Up, Don. How you been? See you always working on some cool stuff. Oh, thanks. Yeah, today I'm trying to work on some cool stuff again. Wanted to add these, kind of like the effect in the Matrix where he has like the ability to stop all these bullets. I wanted to do something similar to this, but with kunai blades from Naruto. And I wanted them to work in augmented reality so I can like shoot this anywhere and have, yeah, just like dozens and dozens of these kunai trying to hit the subject, and then they all freeze. And then I want to, yeah, while they're all like not totally frozen, but while they're mostly frozen, I want to create this really cool effect where they like, I don't know, I'm still working on it. But I was exploring the possibilities right now. So right now I have these kunai blades. I'll go ahead and make a couple more copies. So let's put another one over here, for example. And yeah, I'll copy that one, paste this one over here, paste another one over there. So I'm just making copies of these, moving them in different axes. Cool. And so now with all of those set up, we can now just move our subject, which is this dude here. I'm going to change the color of his layer so it's easier for me to see the icon. Display color, custom. Great. It's a yellow figurine. All right, so let's grab the figurine. And now wherever we move the object, the blade should always point. Yeah, look at that. So now they always point at the character. Oh, sorry. It's not centered in your view. Let me grab my menu here and then make it a little bit more centered. There we go. And so now wherever I move the subject, the blades will always point to him. Cool. So if this is the direction I go with this, we could, hand animate each kunai coming in and then slowly, reaching its target or almost hitting the target. That's an option. That might be kind of fun. The other option is to, just even animating something like this would look really cool in this effect. I also want the kunai to spin at different rates. I'm all over the place. We're just kind of experimenting at the moment, and I'm figuring out what's going to work and what's not going to work. So I'm going to save this file as experimentation. So go save as, and we're going to call this one kunai target practice. Yeah, from Naruto. Okay, so if that's looking like that, okay, that looks pretty good. Now, if that's one direction, the other way is to use a cloner and then offset the Y position and the rotation on the clone. I think that would also look really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this for a moment, including the targets, so that I'm left with just the regular old everything. So I'm just going to get rid of all these copies for a second. So now we just have one object here. And if I reset its coordinates, where is reset? Or is that reset PSR? Where is it? PSR, object. I always forget how to reset PSR. Let me do that. PSR, reset, transform. There we go. All right, so that's back to its original position. So the other option we have is to use a clone matrix. So if we go to our character, where am I? Okay, go to MoGraph cloner, and then we apply the kunai into the clone matrix. We then can create the exact number that we want. So let's say we want 5 by 5 by 5. It's a lot of blades. It's a lot of blades. Maybe that's too many. How about 4 by 4 by 4? And then we can change the scale here, so I can squash these down in different dimensions. And let's scale it down here as well. Okay, so this might be kind of cool. Let's say we were going to have all these blades coming in here. Is that enough, or is that too many? Just trying to imagine. So if we had this many kunai come in, I think that might be enough. Maybe even fewer we can get away with. But let's say we have this many. Now what I was going to do is take the randomness, the transform randomness, and we can rotate these manually along their axes. So I'm going to grab that clone, go to the MoGraph effector known as random, and this randomizes position and rotation, I think, by default. Let's see. Oh yeah, we got position is being randomized, and but not rotation, just position. So let's do position, and I also want to randomize the rotation along the. There we go. So then we can animate all these freely. And then for position, yeah, we can randomize these as well. Great. And what's cool about this is if we add in some deformation fields, we can have things slow down. So one field I was thinking of doing was, let me see if this works. I'm gonna do a linear field. And on this linear field, what I was gonna have it do, go ahead and rotate this in Z, is have it offset things. So you see how this force field will randomize the kunai knives. So before they're all orderly, and then when we slide it here, it randomizes it. So what if it starts off random and then they they go like from here to go. That might look really cool in the animation. That's one option. The other thing I was going to do is have this offset their position. So instead of it just being whether the random is on or off, what if that linear field controlled their position? So let's say we wanted to change their length. Oh, sorry, that's the length of the field. Oh, interesting. How do I do a force field that... I forgot. I want to animate it as a position slider. So if we go to MoGraph, effector, I think they call it a plane effector. So let's add a plane effector. And we'll create a linear field. But I want it to... I don't know what this is. It's not doing anything. Maybe not a random field. Oh, coordinates. Keep getting confused. This is the coordinates of itself. I might need to look up what I'm trying to do here. So if that's before and then this is after, you're kind of blending between the two. I want to use a linear field to change position. But I don't see position as an option. But I think you can add as many linear fields as you want, right? So that's first linear field. Can I add another one? Okay, so here's another linear field. This one I want it to be aligned on positive z. Oh, but see, it's just on the random effector. What if I added it to the position of the clone? Whoa, don't do that. What is this? I don't know what that's doing, but that's complicating things quite a bit. So let's undo that. We have this linear field. I kind of just like the random. I don't know if I want to undo that. We could just animate it manually ourselves, which is what I'm probably going to have to do. Which is in the object's coordinates, in its random effector, where it says positive z, we're going to just need to animate this. But I wish it just wasn't right at its center. I wanted it to be at a transform space. Let me set this to object space. What does that do? That doesn't do anything. Because then this will kind of create the illusion that they're going backwards, and I don't want these to be looking like they're going backwards. I want them to all essentially arrive at the same location. Trying to remember how to use force fields. Okay, so this was another option. I was thinking of animating it's gonna have them come into here, so they all like, you know, they all go close and then they like slow down. But I don't know if this method's gonna work either upon a second glance at it. All right, so the idea here is we're going to make kind of this effect from the matrix, but using kunai. So we know how he stops all the bullets. What I was trying to avoid was hand animating these, but I currently don't see another way to do that. I mean, it looks like it's just a field effector controlling position. All right, I need to look up a tutorial myself. Field Effector Cinema 4D position. Yeah, I just need to see a MoGraph effector for a split second. Okay, this is a basic one. No, not sound. I don't want sound. I just want position. If I just see somebody else do it real quick, I'll remember. So he's got a cloned object. Awesome. He's got a plane effector. And then he sets it to a parameter. And then when he slides it through, it should change the position. That's all I'm trying to do. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Okay, so he has a plane set to spherical field. But how did he choose the objects? Object selected. Okay, I might be able to do this. Let me try that. So we have random turned on. I'll leave the random field on here. We'll leave that alone. But now what I want to try to do is the other one. So let's go to the new effector, MoGraph effector, add a plane effector. In it, I would like to add a linear field. But in this plane, what I want to do is change the, I guess not the rotation, but the Z position. So let's first orient the field to be the correct Z depth. And then what I want to do is have this plane affect the, oh, there's a selection option. What if I make it the clone? Okay, does that do anything? And then let's go to parameters. I don't see it doing anything. Coordinates. Nope, that's the object itself. Effector. I don't see it doing anything. All right, I need to rewatch the tutorial again. It's got a plane effector, parameter. Change the value. I don't know why mine's not working. He's doing a gravity simulation. I'm not trying to do that. Sorry, I just gotta look up my own tutorials sometimes. Delay effector field, linear random fields. I just want to do a layer offset. It's probably, yeah, that's a good offsetting animation. That looks really good. Oh wait, that's a, that's, I want to see how to do that. Offset, tutorial, particle, surface tutorial, effectors. Looking for a very basic thing. So we got plane, text. But how is he combining it? Give me one moment, folks. I need to look up how to do something. Okay, tutorial cells. And then, what are they doing to get it to control it. They go to fields. Okay, so I guess they make the object first and then they choose fields. So we made the object first, then under effectors they have fields, no? No, not these. Okay, so that's a MoGraph object, and then this is, oh, there we go. I don't know why it's so far over here. Let's push this closer to the object. Okay, so this is a plain field. That's looking better, but it's not exactly what I need it to do yet. So what this needs to do, it needs to change the, I'm trying to offset the position in the Z, not the X or the Y. So let's put 0 on X and Y, and we just want Z's position to change. And I wouldn't mind the rotation. Okay, so let's see this go through now. I mean, that's pretty good. Only issue with these current blades, I guess it just randomly scatters it. But I don't want it to just do that. I want it to do I want it to be a more dramatic change in the Z-axis. All right, I don't know how to do this. I was gonna just offset their time, but all right, we're gonna save this one as test number 2. So I'll go to save as, and then we'll call this Kunai Target Practice clones. All right, so that's not going to be the solution either. So let's go turn off planes, turn off random, turn off clone. Go back to this object, help, and then we'll do reset PSR. Okay. Cool. So how about this? We'll just hand animate what we want the motion to be, and then we'll make slight variations to each, and then we'll be good. So I'll go to a top-down view, display the quick shading. That object looks kind of weird from this angle. There we go. And what we want to do is create a little animation. So I'm just going to take the kunai, go to its position in Z, and we'll just create the animation I'm looking for. So I'll start it off over here, hit Z, and then it goes all the way up to here within a very rapid time. gets to here, we'll just have it take a long time to move forward. All right, here we go. That looks good. So that's one kunai blade. Let me take a look in 3D. And then we're going to hold on to that. So that's currently 90 keyframes. Let's hold on to that for a solid 300 to 400 keyframes. And then this one, we'll just kind of have it take longer. Great, so that just kind of takes a lot longer for it to stay put. Cool. All right, now we're gonna add some rotations to this. So for the rotation, not that axis, there we go. So we'll do it on this axis. So we'll start off pretty high on the rotation. And then by here, we get back to about 0-ish. So that means it's gonna come in barreling in. Okay, so it's going from here. Maybe we'll give it even more rotations. Yeah, certainly by that point. So let's go all the way up to later frames. Cool, and then by this point, let's give it some more rotations. So we'll go to the kunai and continue to rotate this. Great, now we'll just keep on spinning. I don't want it to spin to a, maybe I do actually, maybe it'll be okay if it stops. All right, lastly, we're gonna add that aim function. We'll aim it at that cube. So we'll go to the kunai target, tags, animation tags, add to path, add to spline, add to path. No, target. And then under target, we'll set the cube as the target object. And so now it will come in. Great. It's almost like a heat-seeking missile now. And then finally, if we take our kunai and its path that it animates on and raise it up in the world transform vector, all right, so let's see what happens now if we were to just duplicate this object. So let's go to the null. I'm going to take it and copy it and then slide its vector here. Let me see what that looks like. But the path needs to change too. Okay, so don't do that. We won't do matrix pointing. I thought that would be the solution, but it looks like that kind of just creates more problems for us. Okay, how about this? Instead of cloning it there, we could now clone it on a radial array. And then we offset the time. So we have that one. That looks pretty cool. Look at that. So they got that kunai that almost comes down to a slowdown. And then I want to bring the other ones to kind of scatter into place. So it'll be like... I don't know how many, but let's see. Let's just go ahead and copy that one here. So I'm going to make a copy. All right, there's a copy. And then what I'm going to do is first offset its Y position and its distance, and then I'm going to offset its time. And I'm also going to want to offset some of its rotational value. So looking at this object, kind of skipping keyframes. Okay, so we're on that keyframe here. This is the second kunai, and I'm just going to push that rotation further along. That way they'll come in at different speeds of their rotation. Background's a little hard to see, so I'm going to temporarily go to the preferences on the user interface. And then under the background gradient, I'm just going to lighten it up temporarily. There we go. Okay. All right, so the objects will come in spinning. Great, and those are on the same y-axis, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and copy that one, offset it in space up here, and then let's offset the time. Great. Let's also offset its position. Okay, now I'm going to grab all three of these, paste them in place, and then on their respective outputs, I'm going to give this a slight rotation. And also change its distance. And offset its time by a frame. Okay, this one goes backwards for some reason. All right, let's see if we can now use the clone system. Right now I'm working on an animation for some VFX that I want to do. I'm trying to create that shot from the Matrix movies where it's like, let me see if I can find it for you. You know, like in the Matrix when he stops all the bullets? I want to be able to do this with a new VFX shot, but I want to have it be kunai blades. And I'm making it work in real time so that I can use it in Simulon, so that I can film it with my phone and have all the VFX done from the phone. The only stressor is that when you do it, when you have a creative process like this, you'll have to basically make all the assets beforehand. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm first creating this part of the animation, and then we'll do the colliding on the floor part after. But yeah, that's where we're at. So right now I want to have these objects come in, and I'm just trying to perfect its motion. Like those ones aren't moving at all, but I do want them to move a bit. So let's say this one gets to be this far. And this one should move up to there, and this one should move there, and that one should move up there. Let's make sure these are all always moving. Okay, that bottom one is not moving now. Let's make sure this one is moving. And these all need to be rotating. So I'm going to go to the next one, make sure that one's rotating okay. I think that one's spinning too fast. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So I'm now going to set all of these objects into a clone matrix. We'll see if this works. So I'm going to go to MoGraph, Effector, Clone, and I'm going to set all of these objects into the cloner. So we should have a much more elaborate animation now. Oh, it doesn't like that. Okay, maybe not a clone matrix then. Oh, how about this? What if we put them all into a null object? And then we'll put the null object into the clone. There we go. That's looking good. But I want to make it look more random. So we're going to go to the object modifier and play around with the size and scope of the clone system. Great, and now we need to randomize their movements. So we'll go to the clone, go to Simulate MoGraph Effector Random. Great, let's take a look. Perfect. So you can edit the assets into your film once done, making them alright trippy. Yeah. So once I have this done, I'll be able to film with just the iPhone, and I'll be able to reuse this animation over and over again. Filming it from different angles, different environments. It's like as long as the asset is done beforehand, which is what we're doing right now. We're doing because normally this would be the reverse. Normally I would film stuff and then work on an asset to look like this. But with this new workflow that I'm showing you, you can do the opposite. You start off with finalizing the asset, the animation, whatever you want, and then only after it's done, then you hold on. Also, I need to offset the random. I need to randomize the rotation of these. So let's go to parameters, offset rotation. Let's offset on the nope, not wrong axis. How about this? Nope, wrong one. This no. Actually, that one's kind of cool. We could have them come in from different directions like this. Oh, it's a little distracting. Let me see if it's like that. Are they still moving? Oh yeah, they are moving, but they're just very slow. Oh, and now they're starting to collide, so maybe we shouldn't do an offset rotation. Or make the rotation very subtle, like 2 degrees. This kind of just randomizes it ever so slightly. All right, maybe we can add a few more clones. Let's do multiplier by 2. Oh, that's like a whole wall of them. All right, so then at some point I want to turn on physics, and I want them all to collide with the ground. So let's go ahead and make the ground plane. And then, oh, it looks like some of them are actually pushed through the ground. Don't want that. Let's push them up there, and then maybe lower the height a bit there. There we go. All right, so you have all these kunai blades coming in, and now I want to create a physics simulation so that I can like force them to all fall down. How do we do that? So I guess we could go from that last keyframe at 277. or 276. All right, so let's say 276 is that. Awesome. And then we're going to copy those keyframes over to the next keyframe. I'm going to do a quick save. And what I'm going to do now is essentially save the entire state of the objects at frame 276 so that we can now run a simulation over it. So I'm going to go right click, tags, animation tags. We're going to add some simulations. I'm going to go to rigging. No, simulation tags will go to rigid body. And then on rigid body, we're going to set the time of dynamics to be at a specific frame. So instead of trigger immediately, we'll do a trigger at on collision. Okay, I'll do on collision. All right, let me see what happens here. So they fly in. Okay, that was a bad call to do that. Okay, how about this? I'll save the state of these objects at frame 276, and then we'll essentially do a swap out at the same exact time and run a physics simulation on that last keyframe. That might be the easiest for me to do without breaking everything. So I'm going to go to File, Export, and then export this as an object. What we're going to do is make sure we're choosing current frame. I don't see that as an option. Let me go File, File, Export. Let me try FBX. There we go. And FBX has an animation option, and we'll just change this setting. I don't see current frame option. Okay, let me just try this as an object. And then can I re-import that object in? Okay, so that's the whole scene. Oh wait, that's the whole scene, but without the. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, I know what we can do. It's a weird one, but what we can do instead is have it. Let's bake the animation out so that it's all set to keyframes, and then we'll get rid of all the data, and then we'll run a simulation on just the last keyframe. I think that'll be even easier. So I'm going to do a quick save and do File, Save Incremental in case we screw up. And what I'm going to do is select all the data in here, go to Frame Functions. We're going to go to Bake Options, and I'm going to bake everything from frame 0 to frame, not 400. Let's just bake to, I forgot what was the last keyframe. 276. So go to function. We'll got to bake the object down. I want to bake the position and rotation. That's it. And we'll go from frame 0 to frame, I already forgot, was it 276 or 176? Let's try 176. I lied. Let's try 276. And now it's baking all that data down. Did it do it? I can't tell if it worked. Let me try this again. So I'm going to grab all of the data here. we want to bake it all down. So we're going to go to Functions, Bake Objects, bake all of this to frame 276. We don't want to create a copy and we don't want clean tracks. There we go. Yeah, just those ones. Okay. There we go. So that's perfect. Now all that data is stored on a per frame basis. And so we can now take the final position of all of the data, which is this last keyframe here, and then I can run a simulation on just that, I think. Yeah, I think. If I do current state to object, do we still need the clone? Oh, we still need the clone though. Okay, maybe we don't bake it there. We need to get all of the individual objects out of here. That's the new challenge. And then okay, here's the way we can do this. If we go to export this as an FBX file, that oftentimes will bake everything down. So let's see if this fixes everything. I'm going to call this the anim layer. All right, so we baked all that down as an FBX file. Now let's try to bring that anim back in as a new document. Okay, and then yep, everything's baked in. That's great. Awesome, awesome. Let's see what we got. So it comes in, sweet. The material is missing, but as long as we have a UV map in there, I think we should be okay. Oh, weird. Yeah, I guess it unattached the colors. So I'm going into the materials of the object, throwing them into the system, and reattach the base color, the bump map, and then this one should be for both the metallic and the roughness. Okay, that should be back to normal. So let's take a look. They all come in. Great, and now we want to run a simulation on just the last keyframe. So let's do that. So I'm going to take the last keyframe here. Oh, weird, it baked everything even after that. So we want to go to frame 276 and then delete everything that's not that. Oh wow, there's a ton of layers now. Oh wow, this is every single object. So I'm going to draw a line to there. And then holding shift, I'm selecting it all to there again. And holding shift and selecting all of that. Great, and then deleting. So this is all the animation before then, so it kind of comes up. Then at this phase, we want to run the simulation on frame 277. So I'm going to grab all of the objects in our system. The cloner itself. We're going to go and add a physics tag called a rigid body simulation, and we're going to trigger this on a collision. Okay, So let's see what happens now. Animation happens, they're there, and then we need to create a colliding object thingy. So I don't know, could we do, what would happen if I just had this plane collide with everything for a second? And then under tags, animation tags, I'll just make it a collider. Let's see what this does. So I don't really see any of the physics kicking in yet. Collision shape. I don't know how to run a simulation on all this. Unless I have to do it to each individual object, which would be a lot. Your locks got so long. I remember when I first followed you. Oh, wow. Yeah, I got longer locks now. Just time is flying by. It's like a timekeeper. Thanks for jumping in, Shay. Okay, so we're just trying to get this here. So I'm having troubles getting the animation. I want to turn on physics at the end here, and I want them to all bounce around, but they are not following that request. And I was trying to avoid having to manually place them on every object, which is currently what it looks like it's wanting me to do. Which would be a bummer. I'm not trying to do that. Let me think about this. We got the cloner, we got the effector, we have the tags, we have simulation tags, and then we have rigid body, cloth body, a rope. Let's do rigid body. And then we have this object on the floor. We got this plane. And then if we set this to, I guess we could say it's a rigid body as well. I don't know what this shoot at is. Let's see. That's weird. It's not letting me trigger this. Forces. All right, I have another theory I might try, which is to grab the last keyframe in the animation and bake it down to a single object. I just don't know how this works though. I have all the objects selected here. The animation is baked in. And then I hit copy. File, export. And let's say we chose FBX. I don't know how to do this. We got our geometry. On collision, do revert. Forces plus the force of the target collision box, but in code I'm pretty unfamiliar with this. Oh, on collision do revert forces. Shoot, I don't know how to code like that. At least not exactly. So I'm going to just do what if I just save it as an object on this frame? That would be the easiest for me. So let me go object. Yeah, I'll just export this as an object. And then for frame range, I'll choose manual. And I want this to start on frame 276 and end on frame 276. Okay. All right, so hopefully this file is on the last frame of the last spot. And I think it should be fine. Let me take a look real quick. So let's go to our Finder object, and if we run this animation, is this the last keyframe? I hope. Okay, I think that is. Sweet. So that's frame 276, right? So I'm bringing that file back in. I'm going to copy all of the, at least all the kunai objects. So let's grab all of the kunai. It's 108 of them. Copy. All right. Delete. And then we'll go back here. And then at this exact moment in time, we will paste it. And so now we have a whole bunch of objects in here. There they are. Okay, they're 100 times too large for some reason. So I'm going to group them all under a null object like we've been doing. All 108 of them. Then go to the null object itself and scale it down by 10x. Okay, so now, okay, that's great. See, so now they're all in the exact same position as their brothers. See that? So this is like a freeze frame. And I'm gonna do a little swap out. So right when this happens, we swap out with these assets, which I'm also gonna have them share the same material library. If they share the same materials and they share the same position, then I think it will be indistinguishable, hopefully, when we switch between the assets. So I'll put this into the bump map, put this into the color map, put this into metalness and into roughness. Okay, so now we have double the materials and objects that are in the exact same spot. And then what I'm going to do is run the simulation on this object. So if I were to go to the final frame here and go to tags, animation, rigging, No, simulation. Go to rigid body. Does that work? Let's hit play and see what happens. Okay, those aren't playing, so damn, I guess we do need to apply this to every freaking object in the scene. Let's try it now. Okay, that worked. So it's a little tedious, but it looks like what I'm going to have to do is totally tedious. But it looks like the best trick I can do here is to manually combine these and then offset their time. Is there a fast way to copy and paste these? Dang, there is no fast way here. I just have to drag all of these on here. I wonder if I can do 4 at a time. Nope. All right, we gotta paste this 108 times. There's got to be a better way to apply this null to an effector array, but whatever. We'll just kind of go through. This is simulation data, so every one of these spheres represents an object that can be simulated on the computer. This will simulate the object's position, rotation, over time. And unfortunately, we just have to copy and paste it 108 times. I don't know a faster way. I tried some other ways, but they're not working. So we're just gonna paste away. I would say we're almost done. Just 108 times, no worries. We've clicked for longer than that. It would be nice if we could like grab a bunch at once. Nope. I tried. Okay, we're about halfway done. Sorry about the wait, folks. Copy, copy, copy. What's cool is if this works, we'll be able to swap out all of the objects with an animation at the very last keyframe, which will create a really cool effect because then the stuff will fall on the floor, and I think that will make for a really convincing VFX shot. But it is a lot of pre-production, clearly, to set this up, you know. And if I knew how to code, I would just write a Python script that would, apply all of this to every layer. But I don't know how to code well enough or how to deploy that fast enough. It's just 108 times, and we're done. Whew. Okay. So if we did this correctly, we should now be able to run a simulation. There we go. And they're going to happen kind of at the same time for now. So let me just hide the current cloner system so you won't see it. And now we're just going to get this animation of all the kunai falling, which is great. Great. Now we need to make the floor more or less higher friction. So I'm going to increase the friction of the floor and the stickiness of the floor. And now the objects probably won't slide away as much. So let's hit play and see what happens. Yeah, they kind of stay put, which I think would make more sense given how much weight these are. It felt like it didn't make sense when these things were sliding all over the place. But we just ran the simulation, so that's simulating all 108 of them. That one's still sliding a bit too much, so let's go ahead and increase the friction of the floor even more. So we'll go to the floor object, friction, increase that friction. Let's see what we get now. There's still a little bit of sliding going on, but I'm okay with that. That looks fine to me. And all of them stay on the floor panel, right? Let's see. That's great. Now what I'm going to do is bake down that simulated animation of all the kunais falling. So we'll grab the kunai and we'll go to function, bake animation. Where's bake? Oh, okay, sorry. I guess I do it on the keyframes itself. So that null object is here, and I'm looking for the object. I don't see it in the scene. Whatever. We'll just bake it, and then we'll move it. So with the new null object selected, of course. You can hit play and we'll be able to simulate all these kunai. We'll go to File, Functions. I'm going to choose to bake the objects. In this case, I just want to bake, yeah, I guess we'll do bake 0 through 400. That should be fine. I just want the position and rotation. I think that should be all good. So hit OK. It's now remembering the position of those objects as they fell down, and it's storing that into memory. That way we can turn off the simulation data, and then we'll just hopefully offset the time, and then it will look good. All right, the animation is good. You see I have all of this null data here. So now we just gotta sync these up in time so that we start off with the clone. So we want to fly these all in, and then at the end we want to run that simulation data. Wait, I don't know what I just did there. Don't know why I'm seeing two versions of it. Okay, let's solo this out. I didn't do anything. It looks like it's not really remembering the simulated data, but it should, because we've baked the position and rotation of everything. So the true test is to then go through here, and if this worked correctly, we should be able to delete all 100 of those tags. And it should allow us to go forward and backwards in time. Okay, so I should be able to delete those now. Yay, okay, so now we can go backwards and forwards in time. So that's all baked in there. And now it's just a game of alignment. So if we can get the new data to align with the old data, then we'll be happy campers. So we want to keep that. This is the clone. So these are the original clones. We fly in, and then what I'm trying to do is at the very end of their life cycle, which is at frame 276, I want to swap that out with the with this data. All the stuff on the floor that animates after them. So we have position and rotation data. Cool. And these are all the kunai knives. So I'm going to grab kunai knife 1 through 108 and then offset their time to be right there. Okay, so now if we did this correctly, we will be able to play the original animation. They stay put, and then at the last frame, they should all fall down. Where I can find your Star Wars robot, I will have it in my landscape photos. I think they got it off of Sketchfab, but I'm not sure. Yeah. And I didn't make that one. That was, I think, from Sketch. That was in their library. Cool. So now this is working. Last thing we need to do is delete all of the clones on that last frame. So right when it gets into position, right about here, right then is when we want to turn off the upper clones, and then we'll have a nice full animation. You know what I mean? Where it kind of starts off. They fly. We want these to fly in, and then after a while they collapse. So I don't know which ones these are, but we got to find them now. So where are those coming from? And also we should be able to delete the floor now. I don't think we need any more floor objects, right? And we also probably don't need the figurine anymore. So let's get rid of that. So objects fly in, they stay put, and then they physically fall to the ground. I just got to find a way to delete the unused objects when we're done with them, which I don't know how to do. Is it these? No? Is it these? Okay, so what happens here? So they... Or I guess what I could do now is I could bake the animation again and then select all objects up top and delete them from the scene. So now they're just kind of in the way. But for some reason I don't see where I can select them. So we're learning. Let's push this up to 600 keyframes. Oh, it looks like they stop at 400. Okay, but I'll go up to 600, and we're going to go ahead and go to File, Export, and I'm going to rebake everything so that it becomes all, hopefully it becomes all one animation. So let's go ahead and bound these tracks, bake it all down, call this combo. Okay, so with the combo in here, we can now go to File, New. I'm going to bring in all the data that we have now. It's a lot of data. It's a lot of animation data. And what we want to do is delete that first part and make sure that it all comes together. Make sure we get, yep, and we get that physics looking good. So what we need to do then is essentially delete all of whatever this is leading up to any frame before frame 276. We shouldn't really see that animation. So I'm going to go to before it. We're at 272 here. Let's go to frame. Oops, it's taking a second to load. I accidentally moved a keyframe, but it's calculating it for hundreds of frames, so we might have crashed it. Give me 1 second. This is what it will look like when it's all said and done. All right, so we need to go to frame 276, right about here, and delete all of the keyframes that were before it, which is like most of this stuff. So where do I find, okay, so here's position. All right, so this is all of those animations. I'm gonna get rid of, let's start off with that chunk here. Hit delete. Does that do anything? No. Still has them up there. What is all this stuff? I don't know how to grab the objects. Can I go to random? Oh, weird. All right, so these are the right objects. It's just that they appear too early. Ah, okay, so that is all the right objects. Yeah, I don't know what that spinning motion is, but before frame 276, we need to get rid of all of that data. That's a lot of data to get rid of. So let's go super large screen here. Look at all that data. Get rid of it. Here we go, going up. And scrolling up, grab all that data. Scroll up a little bit more. grab all of this data, scroll down here, delete. Okay, let's see if that did it. Nope, it looks like it's still there. It's still there for all those keyframes. I don't know how to get rid of it. What is this? What is that data? Like, is it this? I mean, I see them here. It's weird. I'm trying to unload this from memory, but I don't know where it is. I kind of just don't want them to exist at all for that time period. How do I get rid of that data beforehand? I wish there was a vanish tag. Because all I can think of doing is having them change position at that frame and just have them appear, like move just really far away in the y-axis. It's weird. It's like there's no option for me to delete them before then. All right, I'll play its games. What I'll do then is the frame before it, I will set a keyframe at the Y position. And I'm just gonna set the position super, super high up in the world. And it will be there. And then one frame before, it's gonna swap in. This is gonna create a little problem though with motion blur, but at least now it will kind of work. It's a temporary fix, and it's not a good solution, but it's all I can come up with right now. So they'll fly in, and then right at that frame it jumps, and then we'll do the same thing with the new whatever these things are. We'll do the same thing. So these are all the clone objects in here, and so right when they start to fall, we'll move those ones away. So there'll be a little oops, messed up something. Undo, 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 undo. Okay. All right, so let's go to the same frame. So right about here, then we'll just temporarily for one keyframe change the Y position of the whole system. So go up one frame, and then I'll change the Y position. Okay, so this will hopefully create the illusion I'm looking for. So the objects will fly in. Let's go. Okay, objects fly in. Great, they're there. And then they're gonna fall down. I have them switching colors right now just to help my brain, but they're gonna have the exact same materials during. So I think I can hide that with some motion blur. Okay, I would say we're good. Let's pump this together with the last color correction thingies. Yes, yes, and yes. And then let's plug in these colors. So we got our normal bump map there. We got our roughness and our metalness, and then we have our color. Great. Don't know why that object's not loading faster. It really should. when in doubt, I could also just replace all of these objects with color. Let's see, can I do that? Oh, you can't scroll. It'll take me forever to link up 108 different materials. I could rename this to mat_0. Maybe they'll share the same material identifier. Okay, let's see how this looks. So I just don't know why they're not doing the color thing though. They all just need to share the same materials. Otherwise, some problems will ensue. So I'm going to delete all of these color groups. Oh, there's no materials in there. Let's try this again. Okay, I think we did it. So let's see how the swap looks now. Sweet, you can't even tell that they're swapping. That was before, and that's after the swap. We've been getting a lot of flies in the house. Cool, and let's see how that physics simulation goes. Okay, this is great. That works. All right, I think we did it. So I'm now gonna save this file and see if we can get it to work inside of Simulon. So I'm gonna go to File, Export. I'm gonna export this as an FBX first. And we'll call this Kunai Combo. I'm gonna make a new folder called this Anim for animation and save it. Great, so we're getting that data. Next, we're going to bring this into Simulon. Create a new asset inside of Simulon. Oh, sorry, we need to bring it as a GLB. I take it back. So go to File, Export. Let's do GLB. We'll save all that data. Bake animation. Yeah, that looks good. Double-sided textures. Everything looks good there. We'll save that also into the animation folder. Kunai Combo. Yo, what software is that? This software is Cinema 4D. And then now we're jumping into a new software called Adobe Substance, into Simulon. But we used another software called Substance to paint it. So we used a lot of software today. We're coming in at, I don't know how long we've been streaming for, maybe about 2 hours. Okay, so the animations will come in, they fly, and then they'll collide to the floor. So if we did all of that correctly, we should now have the asset ready to go. And it will look this photorealistic when it's in there. So you can see all the lighting on it. And yeah, this is the hope, at least, of what it should look like when it's all rendered. So let's go ahead and bring that together inside of the Simulon app. I will go ahead and browse to that animation file. And then we got our combo. Great. I'm going to call this kunai test. Kunai test. Description, test kunai array. And then we need to give it a screenshot of the asset. So I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. Just take a picture of this. And then I'll use that as the image here. Under Simulon Hub. Where's Simulon Hub? Lost the screen. Oh, there it is. And then we load this up into the pictures under recent. Oh, it looks like it's missing the screenshot. Let me try this again. Okay. Let's see if we can create an asset here. So I just clicked on Create Asset. It's now loading up into the Simulon app. While it's doing that, I'm also going to test this as a USD. Oh, it says asset build failed. Dang. Okay. I might have made it too complicated, which is a bummer because I really wanted to use this as is, but it might be too complicated of a scene. What's this random do here? Let me try this all again. Fuse that there. File, export. I wonder if we can just save this as USDZ. Okay. Kunai anim. Kunai combo. Exporting to USDZ. It's a lot of data, so I don't blame it. All right, it says that it worked. Let's see if that's true. I'll go back to the animation folder. Here's the USDZ. Let's hit the space bar on it. Let's see what we get. It's still loading up. Might be a really big file. Oh, I see it kind of working. It's hard to zoom in though. Okay, believe it or not, it is working. It's just really, really hard to see. And it's only 61 megabytes. It's just a really tiny file. I think what screwed it up is how I move things at the end. One option I could do instead of moving things really far away is I could scale things down to 0 or 0.001. That's been another hack I've done, but I think it's throwing off the overall position of the whole scene. Crap. So it doesn't like that movement. And this one, it didn't like this either. Yeah, it doesn't like this choice, so I might need to change this again. So let's say it holds position here. Maybe what I have it adjust at this moment is its scale. So let's go to Object, and then set some values for the scale. And this one will send it to 0.001, which is basically 0, but it's like impossible for the eye to see this, hopefully. Only thing I'm worried about is motion blur, might give it away. Okay, this one looks like it might work. So I just scaled it from its original property and just scaled it way down. The hope here is that by scaling it way down, it might preserve better. Okay, let's see if that works. So go to File, Export as USDZ. Kunai Anim, and we'll just overwrite this one. All right, so rewriting the animation. All right, it says it's done. Let's see if this is true. I still don't really see. Damn, I can't get to that object. It's so tiny. I don't know what to do. Trying to get this to work in augmented reality. But there's something wrong with the file. Oh, that's the problem. It's way too up high on the first frame. Ah, there it is. So it's way up there. So what we need to fix is the Y position basically needs to be at this position the whole time. So let me grab all of these objects and then set their global Y position to 0. So this will make it so that they aren't in the correct space, but that's okay. Oh wait, this actually might fix it. Let's try it now. Go to File, Export as USDZ. I'll be right back. Okay. All right, let's see if the USDZ is the right scale now. Still looks like it's too far. But it works at the very end. So close. I guess it was a bad call for me to change the global position like that of the objects. What are these objects doing up here? Let's see. Are these? Oh, these are the objects. Ah, I see now. All of these objects are way up high in the start of the animation. And then they only jump down at the end, which is throwing off the scale of the whole environment. So instead, how about instead, we'll put this to 0 here. And then for the, then we'll animate the properties for their scale. So if we put this to 0.001 for all of its X, Y, and Z size, it's almost like it's invisible. And then we go forward a frame in time Wait, does this do it? Let's check. So the kunai knives come flying in, they stay for a bit, and then they collapse. That should be good. Let's try it out. So let's go to export as USDZ. Let's see if the scale of our scene is at an easier to manage size. All right, we're replacing over the asset or writing over it. All right, now what? So we got all that squared away. Boom, boom, boom. Great. Next, file, open, recent. No, where is it? Okay, let's see if it's saved. Damn, it's still doing that thing where the file is just way too high in the air. And then it jumps to the right spot at the end. Like, what are all those files doing up there? Oh, wait, so the null, I got disorganized. I don't know which value I'm looking at. You see how it's like what is it doing up there? All right, so these are looking correct here. All of that's correct. And it looks like it just keeps going up. And then it only jumps down at the very end. Don't know what that's about. So let's set this to 0. All right, so that keeps them down the whole time. And then what we'll do instead is set their scale to nothing. So let's set the scale to 0.001. So they're all infinitely small objects. And then only at the time of simulation do they scale to the right size. Right around here. We're still running into this weird scaling issue. I don't know why they're scaling up like this. I thought I deleted those keyframes. Now they disappear. Now let's set the scale to 1. Okay, I think that fixed it. Hello. All right, I think that fixed it. Let me see if we can save it now. So file, export, USDZ. Okay, it's writing over the disk. See what this looks like now. Yay, okay, this is great. So now that we got this running in here, how do I zoom in though? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this looks correct here. All the animation's looking good. Oh, I see a weird flickering happening. And it loses all the textures when it falls, which is less good. Okay, I think we might have to, unfortunately, repetitively apply all of these objects as materials again. Let me see if there's an easy way to do this. Like, can I grab all of them like this? Go to tags. Is there like a material tag? No. Oh, there we go. Oh, but those all look incorrect. It like breaks all the textures right when they need to be loaded in. Yeah, I don't know what's causing them to break. Shoot, this is taking quite some time today. I wanted to make this whole animation quickly. It's turning out to be a lot longer than I anticipated. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we switched them to UV wrapping. All right, so now they have the right texture there. Whew, this is complicated. All right, so we have kunai knives will fly in and then they land. So let's save this. And now we'll export this as a USDZ and see if we're getting anywhere closer to the end result that it needs to be. Okay, so if this all works out, we'll soon have everything that we need to make this an augmented reality. And then from that augmented reality effect, we'll be able to use this, we'll be able to do some really cool VFX shots with the iPhone. If I can get this working. So far, it's almost there. I would say it's likely going to work, but maybe not in the next 10 minutes. All right, so let's take a look and see how it came out. Awesome. Let's make sure, oops. I want to make sure that it zooms in and out properly. So let's go back again. So the kunai, they fly in. Awesome, and this is USDZ. Let's make sure the physics is working. It doesn't like the texturing. Damn, it breaks the texture still. Let me see, so it flies, I mean, that looks great. Maybe it's this one. Oops. Let's play this one, there we go. All right, so objects fly in, and then let's see, how do they do when the UV switches? Okay, that's pretty close. That's really close. Only thing that's not seeming to register in there is the metallic property. It looks like it's not, these aren't as metallic as I had designed. They should have a lot more reflections on them. I'm not really seeing my reflections being conveyed. So let's try to do this again. Let's go export. Let's export this as a GLTF this time. Yeah. I'm gonna set these to 2048 by 2048. And let's see how this looks. Combo GLB. I'll replace the old one. And then they have websites for like viewing GLTF files separately. So I'm going to do that now. GLTF. You know what I mean? Like they have ways of viewing them online. So I'm going to drag my object in here and see if the textures look correct. If they do, then we should be all good. If they don't, then we're not good. So here's our GLB. Cool, that looks correct. And let's see if the animation falls properly. It glitches out a little bit at the end there. But all the reflection material is in there now, which is what I needed. Shoot, how do I get it to not do that flickering thing at the end? Do you see it flickering? Right around here. Like, what is that? Because I'm not seeing the flickering happening on my animation here. My guess is it's related to the scale factor. But that's just one keyframe. Yeah, there's no time for it to interpolate. yeah, that's one keyframe there. And then for these guys, yeah, that's also one keyframe. So there's not really time for it to mess up there either. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see if we can upload it to Simulon. We'll try this one first and call this kunai_2 and kunai anim pictures. Take a screenshot of this. All right, see if we can create an asset there. Okay, it says building asset, so maybe that'll work. I'll also upload the other option, the USDZ file that seems to be working. This one was working. Okay, this one should work out pretty well. Cool, so if those two options work, oh, did the other one fail? Bummer. The other option is just to always have them animated. Wow, so the GLB is not working. Wow, that one failed too. Attribute renders on does not accept objects file class list. Damn. All that work. It may not work. All of those steps, it may not like it. I could still save the asset for Adobe After Effects, but I wanted to use it here. I'll go ahead and save it as an FBX just in case. I can use this for something one day. It's a bummer that it's not going to work here. I think I overcomplicated things with all that simulation data. Dang, 2 hours and it's just a broken effect. So let me think of another thing. So I still have all of this data here and I have it pre-baked. Because we could just have it load up into this thing. I could replace all of those assets with the kunai. I just want to see if that works. So under the cube cylinder thing, we're going to replace this with the kunai knife. And we'll go with the object that's already painted properly. So I'll go to here, go to File, Export Textures, and we're going to make sure we're choosing GLT Metal Roughness. And then we'll save this into, not materials, kunai mats, kunai animation, new folder, solid model, export. Okay, Now what we're going to do is import that into here. So we'll go to File, Merge, Kunai, Solid Model. Let's grab the GLB file. Okay, so there's the object. We're going to scale it way down and place this in the system. All right, so that's all of those objects. Okay, that one did not work. Maybe I'll export this as, well, we have GLB. Let's try GLDF. So go to File, Merge. Okay, so there's the kunai. Don't know why none of its materials are transferring over. Nope. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Cool. Okay, so now the animation has all kunai knives. Let's see how it does. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, this is great. Hello, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, friends in Kenya. Welcome to the stream. So we're just kind of wrapping up here. We modeled this kunai knife from the Naruto universe, and then I brought it into a physics simulation that I've been working on, and now we can have it like raining with this effect. But this might be too many objects, so I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but we'll see. Cool. So let's see how that looks with materials. And it seems like the materials aren't rendering properly, but they should be. I'm going to load in the normal map here. Cool. Normal map's in there, reflection channels in there. The specular strength is really messing up stuff though. Whoa. The ground seems a little high, so I'm gonna take the ground plane and send it a little bit lower than the floor. Whoa, hey, too loud. All right, let's switch to an orthographic side view. Now what's really strange here is I can't get the ground. I can't get the ground to be where I want it to be. Let's try that. Okay, so this will have some really good contact shadows now. Okay, so let's try this one, and let's export this as a FBX file. Okay, and then this will be under Simulon Kunai Anum. Replace asset. Cool, so now we're saving that data. Okay, we're finishing up exporting that. It's a lot of data. And there's still a chance it won't work, but we're at least giving it a try. Check my phone here. Okay, sorry, it's just finishing up here. Hopefully the file size isn't too dramatic. Just waiting for this to finish exporting. Whoa, went backwards. Oh, I think it's done. All right, so we'll do a new file, and then we'll import that FBX file. Okay, and then let's look at where the ground is. Oh, weird. It's like nothing worked. Everything's just frozen up there. I don't know what happened. I think I might have overcomplicated this. Yeah, I think I did. So I'm gonna do File, Save Incremental, and then go to Functions, Bake Object. We're gonna not do that. Just want to bake the position and rotation of the objects. Hopefully this one's fast. This is so strange. It's not letting me run things. Dang, we spent all that time making this, but I'm afraid it might not even work after all that. Okay. Hey friends, I'm not sure if it's gonna work. We might have to end the stream. I think I overcomplicated things, but it should work later. I'll just have to try it at a different time. But I need to get outside and move around. I've been indoors all day, so I need to switch that up. Thanks for being here. Sorry for the wasted time. We'll have more, and I'll try to get it better next time. I don't know why it's not working. Might want to refresh my computer and stuff. All right. On that note, we'll end the stream there, and I think we'll get this working at a later date. At least we got it working as a USDZ asset, but yeah, I'm bummed I can't get it to work in Simulon. All right, well, hey, that's the learning process. Sometimes we get things working and other times we don't. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and have a creative and productive day. We've been streaming for 3 hours nonstop, but we got to stop because we are hitting a wall here and I need to get outside. So